In this lecture, we're doing some downloading. If you've downloaded these things already, you don't need to download them again. We're going to be downloading the Unity Hub. That's the place that organizes all of our versions of Unity and our projects. Then we need to download the latest Unity release. I'm using Unity 6, so long as you use Unity 6 or later, you'll be absolutely fine. Now, if you run into problems down the road, you can always go back and download Unity 6, the version that I'm using, and everything will look the same, exactly the same as I've got on my screen. And I'm also going to be using Visual Studio Code as our code editor. The reason we use VS Code is it looks exactly the same on Windows and Mac, so that no matter what operating system you're using, it'll look the same on your screen as it looks on our screen. That's why we use VS Code. So let's jump over to unity.com/download. Find the big download thing. If you click on that, that will start the process of downloading the installer for Unity Hub. And then wherever that's downloaded, or if you've got a pop-up on your screen, you can click on that and follow the process to install Unity Hub. I'm not going to take you through the steps. You know how to install some software. Just say yes all the times that it wants you to say yes and place it in the place that it wants you to put it. Now, one caveat is if at some point it says, hey, you need to sign in, you might need to come along over here and sign up for a Unity account. It's free. You can use the free version, but it might just say to you, hey, you've got to sign in or you've got to create an account. You can just do that with your email address and then go for it, but it might just want to know who you are. And once Unity Hub is installed, it'll look something like this. You'll see projects, installs, learn, community. What we're going to do is go to installs, and then up in the top right, you see install editor. And in here, you've got official releases, pre-releases, and archive. Official releases are the one where they say, yeah, it should work. It shouldn't explode on you. It's all good. This LTS means long-term support. Basically, that's a version that they say, we promise if you use this to make your project, we'll look after you forever and ever, well, as forever as they can. I'm going to download and install Unity 6 Preview, and so we click on the install button. You can see there's a bunch of things here that gives us the option to install. You can install Microsoft Visual Studio Community. That's another place where you can write your code. We don't have to install this because we're using Visual Studio Code in this course, but if you would like to, that's totally fine. The one thing that I would recommend that we install is WebGL build support, so that if you want to export your game and have it playable on a website, then you can do that by exporting a WebGL build. We probably won't be tackling Android or iOS. In other words, we won't be making mobile games in this course. Just a note, you can come back here at any point in time and reinstall these if you want. So I recommend don't worry about them now. We can come back later. Click the install button and then wait the 17 hours or however long it's going to take you, depending upon the speed of your internet. You can see for me, I've got pretty quick internet, so it's going nice and quick. While it's downloading, let's do some more stuff here. Specifically, downloading Visual Studio Code. If you would like to follow along with the same editor that I'm using so that your screen looks like my screen. Another straightforward process, click on the download for whatever operating system you're using. For me, it would be Windows. Once again, it's going to pop up in my little Chrome. You're downloading a thing, and it would give me the setup, and I would go through that by clicking on it, finding where it's downloaded, and go through the installation process. Once again, you know how to do this stuff. Just follow the prompts, and you'll be good to go. Good as gold. We're going to be setting up Visual Studio Code in a couple of lectures' time, so just leave that bubbling away in the background, and we'll get to it at some point in the near future. And while those things are downloading, I just want to give you a little bit of context if you're new to this in terms of what are we talking about with a game engine and a code editor. So our game engine is Unity. It's one of many game engines. There's Unreal, there's Godot, there's Game Maker. There's a bunch of stuff out there that are game engines that give us a real head start in terms of creating our game projects. It's a visual interface for creating games and other projects, but we're talking about creating games, and it provides a whole bunch of systems of existing code that clever people have spent many years working on, like physics systems and rendering for graphics and audio, etc. So game engines give us a massive advantage. The other main thing I've been talking about is our code editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code. You could use Visual Studio Community or Writer or Notepad++ or whatever it is that you like. This is a place that we write our code and tell the game engine what to do. It gives us a whole bunch of hints and clues and syntax, and it checks for errors, etc. And you'll understand as we get into it why it is that we use a code editor and we don't just write it straight into Notepad, for example. And so the way that we connect these two together is through our code. We're writing our code in Visual Studio Code, and we're creating .cs files. And we're writing these files and we're saving them onto our hard drive. We call them scripts, and it's the way that the place that we put our code, and the code is a set of instructions to tell the game engine what to do. So over here, we would say, hey, move the game object forward by 10 blocks. And then Unity says, rightio, you got it, I'll move it forward 10 blocks. And we're saving that information within our CS files. We can have as many of those as we want, and they're a whole bunch of just language to say, do this thing. Okay, super quick rundown there on what we're up to, what we've been downloading. Hopefully your download is going nice and speedy. I will see you in the next lecture.